Hello, everyone, and welcome to The Longing, episode 80, day 80. I wonder what this day will bring. Hopefully, it's been a couple days of real world time. Hopefully, I can just go right back in to the spider and see if he has made a new thing for us, a new web for us to climb. And I also had another idea of maybe I'll do the other idea when I come back here on the way back, but maybe there are secrets that open up when we have our eyes closed, and only when we have our eyes closed. So at some point, I think I'm going to try and get the eyes closed thing to pop up again, and then just walk around here and see if anything changes. One thing that I think I found out that is annoying to me is I've been using the word dichotomy a lot because I learned it recently, but now I realize that I've been using it wrong, which is annoying because I really wanted a word that reflected the way I was using it, but too bad. The way I was using dichotomy was to refer to a spectrum of ideas in which there's sort of two commonly thought of sides to an idea, or like two ends to a spectrum in which there are a number of like ways that the two sides interact and there's like a middle ground and such. But no, in reality, the word dichotomy means specifically something where there is no overlap and the two sides are entirely separate, which is annoying because I wish I had a word for what I'm trying to say. That said, without having a word to say it, I would have used dichotomy, but I was thinking of two ideas that fall into this space, and those two ideas are being like anti-intellectualism. People who see like I forget the word, but I guess I'll just again use intellectualism. They see academic discourse or something, and they think it's all bullshit, and or that they're something along those lines. You get what I mean? And the other side of this would be, what did I actually say? I'm not remembering any of the things. I sort of wrote down some notes for what I wanted to say, but now I don't remember them. I guess, oh yeah, the other side, there's like, would be like, the other extreme would be elitism, and sort of assuming like, oh, you can't have an opinion on something unless you're part of the academia. So there's these two ideas, and the reason I was thinking about this was because I was thinking about the books in The Longing and trying to figure out which ones of these should I read, which ones are the classics, because most of the books here in The Longing are classics, classical literature, not classical, but classic literature. Some of it is classical, I guess, but I was thinking, like, which one of these, if I do go and read a long one, which one's worth reading? And I was trying to figure that out. And as I was trying to figure that out, I was coming across a lot of discussion, and I kind of got sidetracked also into the idea of why are some things considered classics, and they have sort of a mysticism about them, and they're seen as above other works. Why is that? And it got me to thinking about, like, what does the word classic even mean in a literature sense? And I guess on one hand, the fact that I'm having this thought in my head and I'm thinking about these things makes me sound really elitist, but in reality, like, my inner feelings at all of this is all a bunch of bullshit. I think this is a lot of it sounds elitist, and I really, if anything, I think I'm closer to the anti-intellectual side, because I hear these conversations about people trying to say why things are classics, and I can't help but think like that. This all sounds like such bullshit, such elitist bullshit. Like I was. I'm gonna talk about in a second one of these like threads on Reddit or something that I read, but one sec. Let's see if we can talk. We can see our little spider friend, or are we just gonna climb our web and that'll be that, I guess. We don't get to talk to our little buddy. Thank you, friend. Ooh, what's up here? Mushrooms? More mushrooms? What do mushrooms grow on? They don't... In reality, they wouldn't just grow on cave walls. They would, they'd need a substrate to grow in. Ooh, we get some interesting new music. I don't think I want to pick any mushrooms right now. What a lovely fungal sprouting. I'm just gonna enjoy the music for a second. Wonder if it loops or not. I like this track and I just want to listen to it for a little bit longer while I'm here. Okay, that's enough. So, anyway, I was, I saw this thread of, I forget what it was, but it was obviously gonna get some vitriol because someone was asking about like why some of the classics are classics or something on some Reddit thread on some subreddit, specifically a literature subreddit or something, and it got a whole bunch of like comments getting mad at this guy and saying like stuff that specifically was like, what was it? I'm getting further and further away from the king. Maybe it's time to head home and read a nice book? No. We've made our decision. They were saying stuff like, with all due respect, you don't like books, you like stories. And it's like, what does that mean? What the hell does that even mean? It's... And also stuff about how, I guess... Some people saying classic literature... Oh, we can mine this area out? Let's see how far I will get. People saying stuff like, and why is the music... Oh, okay, this just turns everything off. I would hope that this would have been, like, sound off only, like sound effects and not music, but no, it's everything. Well, that's a shame. There were people saying, like... that classic literature is special because you have to get into the mind of the people from the time period who wrote it and why it was important for them, and like it takes like effort, so like it's good because it's hard or something, and that seems pretty elitist on that side. But yeah, I've been talking a lot about the elitism, but not so much the whatever I'm saying, you know what I mean. And yeah, like on some level, I gotta stop myself from like fully coming down on all of this. Is like, oh yeah, fuck the system, yeah, screw all this. It probably all sucks. I mean, I haven't read the stuff. How can I say it all sucks if I haven't read it? I have to read it first and then make a decision. But when it comes down to like people saying like, oh, you can't just make a decision if you've only read it once. You have to keep reading it until you like it. You have to keep reading it until you have some sort of like thoughts on it, I guess. And I think that's not cool either. That's not cool at all. That's you can, if you're forced to look at literally anything. I touched about this when I was talking about the Tao with Ben, but if you're forced to look at anything, you can eventually like force meaning onto it because of the pattern seeking of our human brains. So I guess what I'm getting at is that I wonder if a whole lot of the classics are classics entirely through like just cultural randomness that has chosen them and has propped these things up as classics, when in reality there are like it could have easily been any number of works from the time period that could have been chosen by like one guy here or there saying, "Oh, this is great," and sharing it with friends, and then the butterfly effect of other people wanting to be in on the bandwagon and also say it's good. And then when enough people say it's good, enough people try and figure out why something is good, and then they pattern seeking brains find reasons to claim something is fantastic, and maybe the classics come from that. I certainly think that's probably the case. But without saying that it's obviously not without any value, that sometimes the pursuit of meaning is the value. And I've touched on this in the Tao episode, of course. Where else do I want to go with this conversation? I remember a long time ago reading some article that was very interesting to me about some author, some English speaking author, I forget if they were American, English, whatever it is, who they wrote stories that did not do very well. They were a very like low on the pecking order author, barely scraping by. But they got an invitation to go do a talk about their book or whatever in Japan. And without knowing anything about what was going on, they decided, yeah, that sounds great. I'll go to Japan. They're like paying for all of my stuff to go over there. That's weird that this is happening, but I'll go over there. And then when they went over there, they found out, kind of to their surprise, that their book was a cultural phenomenon in Japan where it was not at all anywhere else. And they were kind of treated as like a celebrity over there. And I think the guy said it was more or less because there were some very baseline women's rights things in the book that were barely like noticeable, or barely like nothing to really write home about in any other culture except Japan's at the moment, because it just so happened that I guess Japan's culture was in a perfect point in time to be receptive to the ideas that the guy was writing about in his book. Like they were just Goldilocks zone of, it's just the perfect amount of progressive ideas being portrayed in the book without going too far for Japan's culture at the time. So I guess what I'm getting at, let's see, is there anything else I can do here, or is it just too hard here? Granite. I'm not getting much further here. What a disappointment. I now have 9 disappointments. Well, this is a separately colored mushroom. I think the only option here is to try this mushroom. A mushroom. I'll handle it with the utmost care. I'm still frightened about the possibility that this mushroom could kill me. Wait a minute. If I take this all the way back home, can I plant it? I'm kind of interested in this idea. I don't think I can afford to not try this idea. I'm gonna see if I can get away with later on just holding this the whole time and then bringing it all the way back without eating it. Ooh, what's up here? It's getting the impression that there might be something intense. Because it's... Oh, no. I was very wrong. Oh, grow a mushroom. Where can I grow it? There we go. The perfect soil for mushrooms of all kinds. Cool. So I didn't have to take it all the way down. Nice. Give me the coal. Let's see if we can farm any more disappointments, too, by going all the way to the end here. Oh, no, I can just use the medic. Have, like, a secondary home here. Alright, where were we? So, yeah, the story in Japan of how the culture was just the perfect place to be receptive to that. And I think probably the case is a whole hell of a lot of classics are only classics because of the time period and the culture in which they were written happened to be extremely well suited for that story at that time period in such a way that it might not be that the book and the story, the book, however you want to call it, was actually fantastic in some sort of like irrespective of time thing, but was important because it just so happened to be written at the right time, right place, right time. I'm very interested in that theory, and I think there's probably a lot to that. But I'm sure it depends very much on the story, and I don't have as much experience with reading the classics as it would take to really completely tell you that with any sort of extreme, like, I am an expert or I'm not an expert. I have no reason to be able to tell you something like that. But I think it's an interesting idea. Um, how do I want to segue this? If I can remember how I wanted to segue this. Okay, forward. What's on the other side of this wall? What are we gonna get? Well, regardless of segues or whatever, another reason I was thinking about this is a lot of the things that have moved me the most, the stories and the just everything, the shows and such that have moved me the most, are not necessarily ones that are like classified as some like beautiful like oh, this is critically acclaimed or anything. They'll oftentimes be just something that's not super well known or not super well thought of, but particular things about it or anything about it may just have really emotionally touched me. And in a similar way to like classics being something that were important because of the culture was ready for them, also individual pieces of media can be important to a person because the individual person was ready for them. So that's another thing to keep in mind, I guess. But in specific, I still haven't finished, but I've been here and there listening to people doing audio recordings of them reading Mother Horse Eyes, which is that Reddit horror story that is incredible in my opinion. And I was really moved by some of the writing in Mother Horse Eyes, especially some of the stuff about addiction, for instance. With the background knowledge that the guy writing it is struggling with alcoholism, it's some really beautiful prose, and I think I'm using the word prose correctly. I don't really know. But it's intense. I can't recommend it enough. But at the same time, I haven't finished it, so I don't know if it sucks after like chapter 50 or something. I think I'm in like chapter 50 or 60 or something. And not really chapters, it goes by posts. But one thing that has always been really something that has moved me a lot in stories that I don't think is has been so interesting to other people, but is when in stories addiction as like a theme. Personally, I I have pretty good impulse control, but I don't know, is that just because I have not used Matic? Is it going to tell me like, oh, oh no 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 no, oh, I accidentally closed. Let's turn this. Is it gonna tell me disappointment? This is too hard. This tiny little area is too hard to get through. Oh no, good. That'd be really funny if it was like, oh, whoops, this part of the wall is too hard to get through. Too bad. Disappointment. Guess I gotta go home. Oh, it's freezing. Freezing on me. Good. We opened a way. The opened way. Shadow of the Colossus. Fantastic song. Maybe, it's been a while, maybe I should stop an episode here and I can talk a little bit about addiction in the next episode. Yeah, I don't have anything else to say. Goodbye! Thanks for watching.